Don't I just love the virtual world? It's interesting how we manage to make it work in spite of everything that we've gone through. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shift Conference. Thank you so much, Adeshewa, for the warm welcome. And thank you, Harry, for also having me here. It's an interesting time that we're in. And today, the topic I've been asked to talk about is leading yourself, reimagining leadership, leadership fit for growth into and in the future. Now, I must tell you as a disclaimer that leading myself is the most difficult thing to do. The most difficult person to lead is yourself. Just take a moment to think about it. It's easier to tell your kids what to do. It's easier to tell your employees what to do. Sometimes it's even easier to tell God what you expect him to do. But when it comes to listening to yourself, listening to myself, telling myself what to do, like this morning, I knew I was supposed to get up and do my push-ups, but somehow my mind developed legs of its own and my body was in another direction. And it took a lot to get myself out of bed to tell myself to do what I needed to do. So leading yourself is an important part. And I'm glad it's the first theme of this conference, because if you don't know how to lead yourself, it's difficult to lead others or to do anything else. I'll start by telling you a story. This year has been an interesting year for all of us, I'm sure. And I had many plans this year of the things that I was planning to do. My mom was going to be 70, my dad was going to be 80, and we all had plans how we would all travel across the world, get back home to Ibadan where I was born, and have an exciting time with them. Unfortunately, things didn't happen exactly that way. But we used Zoom, thank God for technology. We were able to celebrate both my mom's birthday in June and my father's birthday just yesterday. My sisters and I wrote a memoir for him because raising 4 girls is not an easy thing for a dad to do. And especially in a culture where we know that having a male child sometimes can be very, very enticing. And when we were writing that memoir, one of the things I found out was there were many things my dad did when I was growing up that I thought was tough. But as I've grown older and wiser, and as I was writing my part of that book, I realized that he did the best he could at that time. I may not have had the luxury of choosing the school I went to. I may not have had the luxury of choosing the city in which I was born. I may not have had the luxury of even choosing the parents I was given to or gifted to. But the point is, right here, right now, I am responsible for myself. So when we talk about leadership and when we talk about leading people, it's important to think about how does that affect every single thing that, that concerns each and every one of us. Okay, so the first thing I will ask you in the chat box is, if you think about how this year has been for you, tell me one word that describes how this year has been as you think about it right now. Put it in the chat box. I would like to see your words as they come up. One word that you will use to describe how this year has been. Faith, I hear you. Chaos, disruptive, unassuming, challenging. The words are coming up. Testing. Challenging, yes, the words are coming up. Rough, and I can acknowledge with you as well that when we woke up in January and we said, Happy New Year, and we all came up with our lovely, my word of the year is this, oh, this is my year. We came up with our fancy vision boards. I even remember my husband bought some new hand luggages. We were going to travel across the world and just have fun this year. A lot of those things came to a halt sometime in February when the C-19 started. So the complex challenges that face us today, they are unprecedented. Why is leadership such a big deal? Leadership is a big deal because when there is crisis, there is a demand for leadership. When there is crisis, there is a demand for leadership. At home, in the society, in the organization, everywhere we are. People are crying out for direction. They're crying out for a sense of purpose. And it's important to start these conversations about leading yourself. I know if this was a conference about making money, monetizing your knowledge, starting a business, we probably will have a lot more people join us. But what people don't understand is the mindset and the thought about leadership is the starting point. To make any progress and to make any success sustainable, you must start with leadership. The shift must begin with you. You know, the fact that you've been a good leader in the past does not mean that you'll succeed in today's world. I'm sure many of us have seen that. Even the largest economies that we thought were stable have all felt the impact of COVID-19. The size of your company or the fact that you survived the last recession is not even an indication of recovery at this time. The fact that your parents fought World War II and their blood flows through your vein is even not sufficient. You must learn how to lead yourself. Crisis can be devastating, but when we leverage crisis to develop and grow and be better, it makes us ready for the challenges that are coming in the future. So in this little time that I have with you, there are 3 thoughts that I want to share about how to lead yourself in and into the future, starting from now. The first thing I want to establish is you need to reestablish your identity. Number 1 point, reestablish your identity. This is no longer the era of, oh, I know it all. This is the era of being curious and asking questions. Courageous leadership that must come to the surface. This is not the era to say, oh, I have it all under control. I'm sure many of us have had our worlds shaking up and down just with so many things going on in the society today. This is not the time to say, I have all the answers. As a leader, this is the time to stoop to conquer. This is the time to be humble and to ask the right questions. This is the time to start thinking about what is going on around me and what do I need to adjust or to change. This is the time to be honest with yourself. I always tell people, see, don't even think that the year has ended, because some people are already looking into 2021. But guess what? There is still time this year to assess yourself and say, it's time to be honest with myself. This is September, going into October. How has this year been for me? Have I made anything of this year? What is shifting in my life, or what has shifted in my life that I need to take particular attention to? Some of us have lost our jobs this year. Some of us have lost loved ones this year. It's important to acknowledge it, but not just stay there. You need to start to establish what exactly is my identity. If you go online and check the profile picture of every leader you can think of that you admire, I'm sure 9 out of 10, you will find our perfect profile pictures there, including me. We put our perfect pictures there because that's the version of ourselves that was probably captured in maybe 10 seconds or less. But because it's the best picture of ourselves, we put it there and we hide the other parts of ourselves that we're struggling with. In reestablishing your identity, this is the time to think about what is it that I need to do in my life to bring things into order. And I'm a woman of faith. So one story that comes to mind is the story of Esther. We all know how Esther was born. She had lost both her parents. She was living with her uncle. And her world was turned upside down one day when soldiers came into town and they just needed to pick all the beautiful girls into the harem of the king. Suddenly she found herself in a place where she knew nobody and where she was more like a specimen that the king was going to use anyway. It got to a stage where Esther became the queen, and the people and the Jews at that time were going to face a terrible thing. They were going to be killed. Why? Because there was someone who had a vendetta against them. And I remember Esther's uncle, Mordecai, came to her and said, maybe you were put in the palace for such a time as this. For some of us, you may be wondering, what kind of year is this and how is this? But maybe you were put in the world right now, right where you are. In Nigeria, Africa, wherever you are, maybe you were put here for such a time as this. What is it that you can begin to do as you lead yourself in order to bring a change to the people around you? Esther had to have a shift in her mindset to say, oh, I can't be afraid. I realized that when we learn how to lead ourselves well, we save others from death and from destruction. We save others from roaming aimlessly without a shepherd. And that's what Esther did. She summoned the courage to go to the king, and she was able to bring deliverance to her people. In your family, in your business, in your workplace, wherever you are right now, how can you be that Esther? How can you be the one that brings deliverance into the future that we're talking about? Another example I'll give you is David. We remember the story of David and Goliath and how his father had sent him to take some food to his brothers. As young as David was, he had some experience that he's gathered in the backyard when he was taking care of his sheep. One thing that his brothers did not remember and the army of Israel did not remember was the God that they served. In this time and age, our minds are not on lockdown. Yes, we may be on some lockdown, but you know what? The mind is the battleground. And if you can set yourself free, if you can set your mind to rethink what's possible, to reimagine what's doable, you will wake up every morning with a sense of purpose and do something different with your life. David understood that by leading himself, he understood that the giants that they faced was not the enemy. It was the small-mindedness that his brothers had. It was a small-mindedness that the army had. And he said, who is this person? If I just, I know the God I serve, I can beat him. And before you know it, a young boy with just a sling and a stone killed the giants that hefty men were afraid of. So let me ask you, what is that giant in your life right now that C19 maybe has brought into your space? And how will you gather your own 5 stones and sling to make a difference? So the first thing I'm saying is you need to reestablish your identity. Who am I? Ask yourself, without the titles that you wear, maybe you've lost a job this year and there's nobody calling you madam or guy anymore. Who are you without the titles that you wear? And what role can you play right now? Who are you without all the likes and all the followers that surround you on social media? Can you reestablish that identity? And as you do that, begin to say, what is it that I need to do differently in order to lead myself into the future? The second point I want to share with you is resharpen your why. What is in your circle of control right now? I believe there are 3 circles. The circle of control they're the things that are around you that you have a control over right now. Your circle of influence are the people that surround you, that either are giving you the support you need right now. And then your circle of significance, or your circle of, I would call it concern, is that circle where so many things are going on in the political space, in the government space, tax here, this, that, and you have no control over those ones. How can you resharpen your why in the area of your circle of influence? As leaders, we live life forward, but we understand it backwards. So if you think about it, in the last 9 months of the year, what are the lessons that you're learning? Are you learning any lesson, or it's still a matter of, what kind of year is this? This is the time to reimagine and to begin to make a shift. Use your past to create the leadership for the future. Have some self-awareness. Spend the time to reflect on what has happened in the past that I can learn from, and how can I take that into the future. Spend some time with yourself and say, why am I here? There are people who've lost their lives this year. There's a reason why you're still alive. So why am I at this stage of my life right now? And what is it that I'm meant to be doing? When you resharpen your why, it gives you a sense of purpose into the future. Now, the third principle that I want to share with you for the sake of time is how to rechannel your 3 E's. Rechannel your 3 E's. And what are these 3 E's? The first E is your energy. Rechannel your energy. When Harry was starting, he introduced us to the fact that there are 4 dimensions or 4 levels of energy that great leaders maximize in order to lead themselves well. To keep your motivation high, especially in the season we're in right now, you must be able to increase your energy. You can't give from an empty cup. As leaders, we must be able to replenish and sharpen our energy. Many of us have busy lives. And I was thinking about it this morning. How many times have you said, oh God, if only I had more time, I will pray more. Oh, if only I had more time, I'll spend time with family. Oh, if only I had more time, I would write that book. Oh, if only I had more energy, I would do this or that. Guess what? Since the lockdown in March, we have had more time for certain things. But the question is, have we used that time and that energy really well? So what are the 4 dimensions of energy that great leaders maximize in order to lead well? Spiritual energy, Harry mentioned that already. Your connection with the source of all things, God himself. Everything just doesn't seem to work. Like you have your plans and things are just not going the way it should go. Why? Because there is a yearning and a hunger in man to serve God. And so when you create a connection with God, what that does is you wake up in the morning and your vision is clearer. You can tell yourself, I can do this because my vision is clearer. I have a purpose. I know where I'm going. I know who I'm serving. He's bigger than every lockdown that is around me. You wake up with that affirmation in yourself and it recharges your mind. You move around your day. You're like a mobile generator, just pumping out God's power because you're connected with the source inside. So spiritual energy, number 1, we must ensure that we keep that motivation high. Physical energy, number 2. Nutrition. Are you paying attention to what you're eating? Are you paying attention to exercise? I know some of us have been working from home in the last couple of months. Some of us have packed on weight. I have packed on a few cheeks, as you can see. And now I'm telling myself, I need to get back. I need to get up in the morning and exercise a bit more. Taking lots of vegetables, vitamins. They talk about coconut oil, avocado, broccoli, get it all. Because leaders that take care of themselves can take care of their vision and the community around us. So your physical energy is so important. The 3rd level of energy, your emotional energy. This is where you manage your stress and how you respond to things versus react. I know everyone is now on social media. Everybody's sharing all sorts of viral videos. It's so easy to get worked up. But when you remember that you are a leader and you're leading yourself well, you can think through my self-talk. What am I telling myself when I wake up in the morning? Am I also saying, oh, everything is going crazy? Or am I putting the right words? Am I sending words into the air that bring things to pass in my life? The 4th level of energy is your mental energy. Okay, so this we're talking about how am I feeding my brain? Am I sleeping well? I've realized that, when we don't sleep well, we clog our brains. And a lot of science has shown that the brain has a way of cleaning out its waste when we sleep. So if you find out that you're having constant migraine all the time, maybe it's not headache. It might just be brain poo. Your brain is trying to clean out stuff and it's not able to do that well. The 5th kind of energy that I like to add, I know there are 4 that we talk about, but I always like to add this 5th one, which is your relational energy or your social energy. How inspired and challenged are you by the network that you surround yourself with? We pass energy to one another. And as you think about leading yourself into and in the future, it's important that you're channeling energy from multipliers. I always say it, when you look at your phone book and the last 15 people you've called this week, I can put them in 4 categories. You have subtractors. Subtractors are people who every time you tell them something, you have a great idea. You think this is something we can do this year. Oh, this is how I think I can serve my business. Oh, this is how I think I can do this. They just tell you every single reason why it cannot work. I don't know if you felt it where you've told somebody something and the moment you tell them, it's like energy just came out of you. Like, oh, okay, maybe it's not such a good idea anymore. Oh, maybe I just need to do something else about it. Those people are subtractors. Then we have dividers. Dividers are people who just don't want the team to be in cohesion at all. Maybe you've noticed them in your team. Anytime you're thinking of doing something that is uniform, they always have to play the devil's advocate. They always have something to tear the team apart. I don't know about you, husband and wife, somebody comes to visit you, and by the time the person leaves your house, both of you are fighting over something that you even have no business talking about. Those are dividers. The 3rd category of people, I call them adders, okay? Adders is not really in the dictionary, but I just mean people who make your 1 + 1 = 2. These are people who you share an idea with, and before you know it, they're able to tell you, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Okay, this is a great app you can use. Oh, this is somebody that you can talk to. We need to surround ourselves with adders, people who make your 1 + 1 = 2. And then the last category of people are the multipliers. These are the people who make your 1 + 1 = 50. Before you still think of, while you're still thinking about the idea, they have helped you to put 2 and 2 together. Every time you're with them, they have something great to add into your life. When you think of the last 15 people you've talked to this week, can you put them in those categories? Leading yourself well means elevating your relational energy. And that means taking care of the people that you're spending your time with. Spend your time with the people that matter most in your life, and you will see your leadership skyrocket to another level. So what am I talking about? I am talking about 3 strategies for leading yourself well into the future. First of all, I said you need to understand, reestablish your identity. You need to resharpen your why. And then now I'm talking about the 3 E's that you need to pay attention to. The first E is energy. And I've shared with you 5 dimensions of energy that you can exercise every day to bring out the best version of you. The second E is your environment. Whether you like it or not, if you want to lead yourself well into the future, you need to pay attention to your environment. Many of us have had time at home to declutter our space, to remove those things that are clogging our rooms, clogging our office. Many of us, there are things that you said, oh, when I have time, I will take care of it. Have you been taking care of those things? A clear vision brings clarity. A clear vision brings focus. And when you declutter your space and declutter your mind, what that does is it gives room for new ideas to come into your space. Even in your environment, it's time to declutter your relationships. I talked about that earlier. Who are you doing life with? Find a network of people that have common values to yours. Find a network of people who are moving forward in a direction that is positive and optimistic, so that you can look back and say, you know what, at the end of 2020, I led myself well. And for you as a leader, create an environment of trust, an environment that helps to turn your employees and your customers into loyal fans. I like using the analogy of Apple. Many of us know about the iPhone. For those of us that have it, there are teenagers who will save up every money they have. They will queue just to buy that new iPhone that is coming out. Why? Because they have become loyal fans. The same way with us. When people see you, do they see the glory of God in you? Are they able to follow you because you are leading well in every area? So declutter your environment. And as you do that, it helps to make you lead well in your space. The third E that I think is important for us to pay attention to in our leadership is to resharpen your eulogy. Eulogy, we say it's usually, that phrase or that poem or that prose that people give at someone's graveyard. Now, I'm not saying that graveyard is close, because anyway, we're all going to live very long. But when you think about 2020, will 2020 be a life-changing year for you? There is only one person that can answer that question, and that person is you. Will 2020 be a pivotal year for you, or it will be a year that just passed by without you developing yourself? The answer to that is only you can make it what you want it to be. There is a shifting that is taking place this year, and only people who are sensitive in the spirit will pick it up and think of what they need to do to act in that direction. How can I lead myself well, both now and into the future? There is so much talk about the new normal, the better normal. Oh, when COVID is over, I will do this. Oh, when COVID is over, I will do that. I think we over-exaggerate what tomorrow might be. And then we underestimate the value of today. What are we doing today? The accumulation of many todays is what brings about tomorrow. So pay attention to what you're doing today. And the question I will ask you as I round up very quickly is, by December 31, imagine you're writing a letter to yourself. What will you write about the year 2020? What will you say changed, either in your values, in your habits, in your energy level, in your environment, the relationships that you surrounded yourself with? What would you say changed by December 31? There are still 90 days before the end of the year. I want to encourage you to take some time to think about how you're leading yourself. Make up your mind to lead yourself well and to be consistent with it. Make up your mind to think about what is important to me in life, and am I going in that direction? It was Andy Stanley who said that great leaders last because they lead themselves first. When you want to make a difference in the world, it's important to start with yourself. The bigger your why, the more you can optimize your leadership. The bigger your why, the more you can be a leader worth following. It's important for us to lead from within, starting with ourselves, so we can last for the assignments that God has given us. I encourage you today, take a moment to look into the mirror from time to time and ask yourself, am I who God wants me to be? Am I spending my time doing the things that I desire? And what change do I need to make in order to do the best that I can be? Leadership starts from within. Let it start with you and let it start with me.